Do you think the left is scared to admit that there is a problem specifically with Pakistani rape gangs?
Yes, much of the left, but not all. They are motivated by a collective guilt complex about white racism, colonial anguish, and so forth. So they go out of their way to give Muslim fanatics, fascists, and I'll call them fundamentalists as well, a free pass to do as they wish. For example, the West says, the left says in general, very little about Muslim misogyny, honor killings, social apartheid, cultural supremacy Muslims do. The views about blasphemy, Sharia, religious intolerance, Muslim views about homosexuality, not endorsing free speech. The left is silent about the Taliban in Afghanistan, what they've done to the women there, and same with the Iranian mullahs. So the left is complicit in this, supporting reactionary, fundamentalist, ultra-conservative Muslims under the guise of multiculturalism and giving everyone a fair
Well, that's a good point to pass this one over to Aaron, because I do wonder, Aaron, whether or not the left, a lot of people on the left, can't actually admit that this is a massive issue, because their multicultural worldview would be shattered, wouldn't it?
Well, I have to say, I find that original contribution just made a moment ago rather bizarre, frankly. We're talking about historic and ongoing cases of mass child sexual exploitation, rape, abuse, horrific, in multiple places, Telford, Rotherham, Rochdale, Oldham, elsewhere in Greater Manchester, Oxford and beyond. And I don't think it helps to start that conversation by talking about Iran or Afghanistan. You talk about foreign policy on this show, I'm sure, but I don't think now is the time or place. And in terms of these issues, does the left have a problem? I think the whole of British civil society and the institutions with significant power in this country have a problem. We've had report after report showing failures with regards to the police, local authorities, councils and beyond. And I would say that today of all days, that question being posed, I think, has a political bent to it, Patrick. So let me put it like this. Okay. There was a report that was published in 2022 which had 20 recommendations to help survivors and victims of child sexual abuse, exploitation, rape. They included compensation, lifelong support, the creation of a national authority for child protection. The Conservatives had 2 years to implement one of those 20 recommendations. They succeeded in producing 0. Yeah. They implemented none of them.
But Aaron,
I find it... Please let me finish. I've got one more sentence to say. So in that context, Patrick,
hang on.
I find it rather strange
where this took place,
for you to be talking about the left. Why aren't you talking about the Conservative Party?
Yeah, fine, OK, and we do a lot. But, Aaron, I'll stick with you on this before we go back to Dr. Taj, because the vast majority of the places where this grooming took place were in Labour councils. And as numerous reports have found, you could argue, Aaron, that actually to begin with, this might have been a bit of a Labour cover-up.
So the 2013 J report, which is a really exceptional report, which comes out of Rotherham Local Council, that's commissioned at a local level, that can work. It was really, really powerful at the time. That was the original report which said at least 1,400 children, young women, were victims of sexual assault in Rotherham. That was where that number comes from. Very, very good report. And that report itself said that actually many people within the council, for instance, said they turned a blind eye, or they saw colleagues turn a blind eye because of concerns about being considered racist. So this isn't a debate. We know that happened because a very powerful, strong, robust, well-researched report came to that conclusion 11 years ago. You know, we don't need to discuss that. It's a fact.
OK. Well, Dr. Taj, I'll bring you in on this. When it comes to where the Labour Party are at now, I look at the way that they maybe lost the quotes-unquote Muslim vote at the last election. I look at the way that they may be scrambling around to get that. Jess Phillips herself, for example, has a majority of something like 600 and odd now in her seat. Is it really in their interest to point out, do you think, that there have been problems, and I dare say continue to be problems, among specifically, in this regard, elements of the Pakistani community? Because is that not a voter base that they have courted for decades and need now, Dr. Taj?
Yeah, before I answer that, let me just go back. I gave a litany of issues that the left has sort of kowtowed to the Muslim vote. And I only mentioned Iran and Afghanistan at the end. Your guest didn't come back and rebut me on any of the other stuff, because that's very important. The left is in hock with radical, reactionary, ultra-conservative Muslims. And so when the Labour Party, for example, and all of these grooming gangs, we've had one in Oxford as well, mainly Pakistani, and they're Muslim. And I'm fed up of people calling them Asians. And we need to just call him Pakistani and also to add word Muslim, because I have many Pakistani Christian friends and they don't do anything like this. Clearly, the Labour Party is concerned about the bloc vote. I mean, there are many constituencies. Jess Phillips is just one of many constituencies that she just scraped in, okay? So I think they're looking at the numbers and saying, listen, no, we can't do this. The point that I'm making, and I find it very strange that the left, they are really have strange bedfellows and have an unholy alliance with the most conservative, egregious segment of Muslim theology and Muslim clergy. I just cannot get my head around that.